Welcome to Airborne Kingdom. This is a semi-recent game that was released on Epic Game Store on December the 17th in 2020. And it's sort of a unique take on a city builder, to be honest. I've played it a little bit so that I got kind of the feel for the game and whether I enjoyed it or not, and firmly decided that yes, this game is definitely worth recording for the channel, and I hope that you will enjoy the experience together with me. So the game is basically about the contraption you see there on the screen, which is our city center, and we will be building our city around that in the air. While we have to maintain lift, which is from the propeller, as you can see there. Also the balance of weight. Obviously you don't want the thing to tilt too much. That would be rather inconvenient for the people living there. And we also, of course, have to be careful to not run low on fuel. All the while we have to explore the landscape, and that landscape's supposed to change with every playthrough. We are going to search for resources, find lost technologies, and ultimately discover the fate of the ancients. So, let's just jump right into it. New game, and I do warn you in advance that the audio in the video might be slightly louder than my voice, but it's kind of a tradition for me to show the intro videos for games that I play, so let's have a look at it.
In a bygone age, a kingdom existed like no other. This kingdom did not anchor its power. This kingdom took to the skies. The Airborne Kingdom traveled to every kingdom on the ground, sharing knowledge, culture, and tradition. Its great council guided the lands through a golden age. Yet, long before even our elders can remember, the Airborne Kingdom vanished. The people sought to continue their harmony, but self-interest began to overrule. The land's 3 regions slowly isolated. Trade, travel, connections all unwound. Kingdoms contracted, and small settlements nearby were nearly wiped away. Bygone times turned to legend. But in the tapestry, we found instructions. A blueprint to remake the technology of the ancients. A prophecy to restore the Airborne Kingdom. There was but one belief we had wrong that day, though it proved vital. For such a finding was no chance at all.
Liftoff. All our painstaking efforts have succeeded. Our home flies. Yet this is only the beginning. To truly rebuild the ancients' vision, we need to find every kingdom upon the lands and befriend them as common allies. We also need inhabitants to form our great council in this new empire. We should start with the kingdom of Rutula, not far from us, and the only kingdom we know. But first, we must build houses and find supplies. Let's let's begin. So this is the Airborne Kingdom, and down there is the Tapestry Ruin. An unremarkable ruin is half covered in sand, similar to the hundreds scattered across the Barrens. And yet, within its walls, we find the prophecy that we hope can change the fate of an empire. For at the beginning of this legend, the Tapestry Ruin was still unmarked and unknown, and yet, through the course of our story, it would become the genesis of myth. From Journals of Our Travels by Muluab, the Second Chronicler, we return to our home. So we have the landscape down underneath us, and we have our city up here. And we have a gigantic propeller and some paddles or oars or whatever I'm supposed to call these. And this is where we can find our inhabitants walking around our town center, which is the heart of our flying kingdom. It stores coal, which we can see up here, as fuel for the large fan, and I think that I need to perhaps reduce the volume a little bit here. Set it there. A large fan, which is then connected to all lift buildings that also need coal. So there are other lift buildings. Now, this provides 40 lift for every 0.5 coal per hour. Up here we have different statistics that are relevant to us. The time of the day, the game speed of course, how satisfied our airborne travelers are, how many inhabitants we have, and whether or not they are idle and or working. And they also will show this in red if, let's pause it, if they don't have any home. Then we have food, which also tells us how much we need per hour. We have water and how much is needed for that per hour. Also the storage, as you can see, 27 out of 30, 14 out of 30. Our lift, currently we have 20 weight, which is the town center itself. And we have the ability to carry 40 total weight currently. This is our speed. Since we're standing still, it is currently at 0%. But we can currently move at 76% of our fastest possible speed. We can add propulsion buildings to increase this amount. Then we have our coal and how much of that is used per hour. We have wood, adobe, iron, glass, canvas, our resource storage, and then relics, which are rare items from ancient days used for bartering. Now I did enable the tutorial, so we have the basic controls tutorial. This is basically the usual tutorial as expected. And then we have people and work. And as I explained, you can see the amount of people on the top bar. On the left is the number of people. On the right is the number of housing blocks. And each person requires one housing block. Inhabitants with no specifically assigned task will build any available construction. And if there is no available construction and they are not assigned to work, they will show in the idle worker count next to the housing number, which is in the parentheses there. Try building some housing blocks for your inhabitants now. That's all well and good. That's one thing that I miss in the game, or in the tutorial. It doesn't tell you that you need to build a path first. So let's build a path, and I think we'll just build that right around the entire town center. Like so. And enable the speed again. And while they do that, let's fly towards that forest. Now the movement tutorial pops up. Unlike other kingdoms, your kingdom can move. Simply right-click anywhere on the land and you'll start moving in that direction. Being unmoored has its advantages. You can get closer to resources that would otherwise be too far away, and the closer you are to a resource, the faster you'll gather it. Big surprise there. Down here we have a forest, but we have insufficient aircraft. We need to build more hangars. First of all, we need to build housing blocks. Let's pause the game again while I have a look at this. 1, 2, 1, 2. I happen to know that we need 2. Okay, so let's build a housing block there. You can see no tilt issues. 0 degrees front, 0 degrees right. We want to make sure that we build things in such a manner that we don't tilt too much. Housing blocks can be built in blocks of 4, as you can see. Each block is clumped together with its nearest neighbors to form a 2x2 house. So I don't need roads to the outside here, because they get access through this little road bit here. And 2 wood. The only other thing we need is a hangar that requires adobe. I'm not sure about the pronunciation there. Any buildings must be connected to the town center via paths. That should have come up before it started yabbering about us needing to build houses, at least in my opinion. These walkable platforms also act as sturdy connections between buildings. Housing blocks clump together in 2x2 squares, but that clump must also have some connection to a path. Later constructions may have similar clumping properties. When placing buildings, pay careful attention to tilt, as adding too much weight on one side or the other will tip your kingdom, which may annoy your population, imagine that, and slow you down. So we also want to build a hangar so that we can get resources from down there. This is 6. I believe this is 7. Let's build a hangar there. Yeah, that is 7. That means we can build a path going out. And I think we'll... I don't remember my requirements. The housing blocks down here. But I do require more... I can destroy that. 2, 2, 2, and 2. Okay, so I can't build a path all the way down there. Which actually... I haven't found a way to multi-select things. Yeah, I'm aware of that. That's... Yeah, no, I can't multi-select things. So let's do this. Because we want to remove these path segments. Like so. And then we want to build another path segment here. And the hangar we can build here. Okay, let's start up the game again. That was more complicated than I expected. We have 9 people who are now happily building on our kingdom. I think we shall reduce the sound effects volume a little bit as well. There we go. They are happily walking around here. Gathering resources. You may be up in the skies, but you'll still need to gather resources from the ground. Your people can reach these resources with a hangar building. Hangars contain planes, which allow your people to fly to the ground and grab materials. A hangar should be one of the first buildings you construct. Once you have one, left-click on that nearby forest and assign people to gather some wood for more construction. There we go. Now let's send off 5 workers down there. And this looks really cool, actually. The planes drop down, naturally, but when they come back, that is kind of funky. Leaving some of the workers up so they can finish that. And also the hangar can only... here the planes are coming back. And zooming into the building again. And then bringing the wood to our town center, which is our current storage facility. Which means we can build more housings. So let's build 2 more of those. I think we can speed things up a little bit while we're doing this. I want to just collect all of this forest down here. Now we can build 2 more housing blocks. And we have 2 complete blocks of houses here. Researching new buildings. Construction on a flying platform is hard. Beyond basic and storage buildings, you must research any new constructions at an academy so that they may work in the skies. Your people don't have many ideas for buildings yet, but an adobe kiln would be a useful addition so that you can transform clay to adobe. Create an academy and start researching an adobe kiln. That is all well and good, but we first need to empty out the forest down there and then move over there. I wouldn't mind getting more water. Also, there seems to be an unknown settlement over there. Recruiting more people. For your kingdom to thrive, you must always look for more people to join. Potential migrants can be found at small settlements. They look at the happiness of your current inhabitants to judge whether they'd like to join. You can see the average satisfaction level of your people in the top bar up here. Move your mouse cursor over that bar to see more specifics, including what might be causing displeasures. Currently, we don't have everyone a jubilant because there is still 1 inhabitant who does not have a home, so we have only 1 satisfied left, but 8 jubilant workers. The nearby forest has been fully chopped and replanted. It will regrow in time, so let's move our city over there. There's some coal down there as well. We should build an academy that requires 30 wood and 5 workers, or 5 inhabitants, which will be permanently, at least until we eventually decide to tear down the academy again. The workers will be tied up inside the academy. Let's send 3 workers to that one, and 3 workers to that one. So hangar contains 7 aircraft. Didn't I send... So then why do I have insufficient aircraft? Oh, maybe it means that I have insufficient aircraft to send more workers. I think we need to build some more paths here. And 2 there, 2 there. Probably all the way around. The paths are free to build, but they do require lift. 0.01 per, so not that much, but they do require lift, which is kind of important to keep in mind. We don't have 5 workers or inhabitants available currently because they are down there. We can take these guys back. And that's 2. So there is room for a road or a path between if I build 2 of them here. Yep. Let's do that. Probably want to have 2 of them eventually. Forest is done, so let's move over there. Now that we've built an academy, we can start to research new technology. Researching is how we can take ground technology and adapt it for use in the skies. Now, we have several research trees down here. Resource is the one we're in, where we're going to research the adobe kiln. We also have the basics. We have storage, we have lift, we have propulsion, and we have desires. All of these that have question marks are undiscovered as of yet, so we'll need to find those in the world. So let's research the Adobe Kiln, and we also need to build a final housing block so that we can get our inhabitants to be jubilant. There we go. Now let's visit this small settlement. We approach a hovel on the edge of nowhere. Some settlers may wish to join us to leave the land's toil behind. Settlers by necessity are hard and tireless. I recalled our own home just abandoned. The people here would have to uproot their lives soon like we did. From Memories of the Distant Past by Muluab, the Second Chronicler. We look for migrants. A few of the settlers seem intrigued by our vision, but they want assurance that they are leaving for a happier home. The sun-caked faces were hard as leather. Most workers ignored our presence and continued their thankless tasks. So, you can see that they have requirements. At least mediocre inhabitants on the Airborne Kingdom. Overall satisfied inhabitants on the Airborne Kingdom. And jubilant inhabitants on the Airborne Kingdom. Now let's recruit them from the bottom and up so that we satisfy these requirements and recruit all 3 of them and then turn to other matters. And that of course means we need 3 more houses. 1, 2, 3. And we could also send a couple of workers down to collect some coal, I think. Everyone has houses, that's good. And there's a thicket, which will also supply us with some food. Guess we can move over there. There's some clay, and there's a relic ruin. That will give us relics. Yes. That wasn't clear. Over here is an unknown ruin. And there is the Unknown Kingdom. That should be the kingdom of Rutula, I think. Kingdoms and allegiances. To recreate the legendary Airborne Kingdom, you must ally with all 12 kingdoms throughout the lands. Perform tasks to help them, as the old Airborne Kingdom would have done, and remake the prosperity from the times of the ancients. Perhaps allying will get you something in return. To completely rebuild that glorious Airborne Kingdom, you must also have a population of 150 people, which will reform the Great Council. Only then will your task feel truly complete. And we have the speed. I've already mentioned a little bit about this, the drag that is added, which comes from the buildings and the weight, and we get propulsion buildings. Also, tells us that we're continually using the resources like coal, food and water, and the faster we travel, the less time it takes to get places, and then the fewer resources we'll use along the way. We can also upgrade the town center to go even faster. Food storage is almost full. The Adobe Kiln has been researched. That transforms clay into Adobe. But workers don't like living near the Adobe Kiln because of its fumes. That takes 8 hours and increases the efficiency by 33%. Storage, we have the warehouse, the water tower and the food silo. These we have none in yet. I think we will research the housing blocks stacking up to 2 stories. Now we have a building placement tutorial. Your people do not enjoy living next to certain buildings like the one you just finished researching. And these are indicated with a red radius while you're placing them. Pay careful attention when placing these buildings so that they're far away from any housing. You can also move any building by selecting the building and clicking the move icon. This can be helpful if you have placed a dirty building near housing blocks, or to rebalance your kingdom if it's too tilted. And that will also occasionally cost resources. Panel bullet hover. Yeah, I've already explained this, how these hovering over these shows us certain things. Let's recall these and these, because we are full up on both coal and food. And then we can move over here and start collecting clay. And we also need to build an adobe kiln, but we need more wood before we can do that. Send a worker to the relic ruin, and the rest we can send down to the forest so we get more wood. You can also see the numbers on the ground there, and in case you haven't already figured that one out yourself, it is an indication of how much is left in the resource nearby. So there would be 14 clay over there, 31 wood left here, and so forth. Got 5 relics from that relic ruin, that's nice. I don't think those take up any storage. Clay deposit has been emptied. We can send more workers down to the forest then. How much did we need for the kiln? 15. And 3 workers. Probably should head on over there to take a look at that ruin. But let's empty out the forest down there first. Not like we don't have the storage for it. There we go, and then we want to head on over in this direction. And we also want to build that kiln. You see it has a large red radius around it, which is the area of effect where people will be less than pleased to live. I think we'll place this here. This will give us a 1 degree tilt in the front, but I'm not too worried about that. That took up 3 more of our workers, but we should get more of them soon. Oh, there's a 64-sized forest over there. The fluorescent ponds. A number of small ponds glow with strange colors next to a small abandoned settlement. The walls of the buildings are dyed in a similar color to the waters. The source of the pigment is a mystery, but it appears we can change the colors of our own buildings with these new dyes. Materially, there was no benefit to swapping motifs on our kingdom, yet still some might call it fun. From instructing too literally by Muluab the Second Chronicler. Take the dyes to customize our own buildings. Building motifs. You've just found a new building motif at an abandoned settlement. These dyes let you customize your building colors. To choose a new motif, select a building, then press the palette button. From there, you'll see all the dyes you have found so far, and selecting a dye immediately applies it to that building. You can also choose to apply to type, which applies that same motif to all buildings of that type, or apply to all, which makes every building take those colors. Let's head on over to that forest. So the motif isn't really that exciting, the first one I think, but we could, for instance, change these daybreak if we want to have the academy in a different color. It's a little bit more festive. You can see the massive change if I do that and apply to type. It's a very distinct change. I prefer the darker colors here, though. Send down the workers to collect the wood. Ah. Let's go grab those relics as well. Over there is some clay and some more coal. There's 136 forest over there, wow. And another unknown ruin. What I would have liked to find is another village. But I can't see any. There's a relic ruin over there. We should probably go pick that up. We got 4 relics from that one. We are up to 9. Yeah, we can set it to max speed while we empty out that forest. I think that we can build some more houses. Just to use some of that wood while they're down there. So we don't fill up our resource storage. And we have researched the housing block upgrade so that we can now stack housing blocks in 2 stories. Let's do the 25% less water per household. Not that we're using a lot of it currently, but as we grow, that will become more needed. So better to just get it now. And they are making adobe or bricks rather. Note that they're not constructing currently. That's because everyone is busy chopping wood there. Remove 2 of these. And the forest has been fully chopped and replanted and will regrow in time, so let's head on over here. There's some quartz here. We don't need that yet though. Send a worker down to the relic ruin. I don't think there's anything else of interest down here. That looks very pretty, but got 3 more relics, so let's head over in that direction. 3 relics found in Airborne Ruin. It's kind of difficult to see that font with that color, but it's fine. You can see the tilt slightly. It's tilting kind of that direction. Let's get that clay. Not sure if we need any coal currently. I think we're good on that. There should be coal over there as well. Yep, there's coal there. Oh. Ah, it's an unknown ruin. Well, we'll go there and then we'll go over to the kingdom of Rutula. Took its time. Oh, we're full. That's why. 100 of 100. Housing block upgraded, require 25% less water per household. Let's do the same with the food requirements. Eternal Forge. A large forge glows hot with colored sparks. Though the nearby settlement has been long abandoned, the metalwork is a similar color to the sparks emanating from the forge. The exact alloy is a mystery, but it appears we can change the colors of our own metals with these new dyes. We'll take those alloys to customize our kingdom and then head on over to the unknown kingdom there, which should be the kingdom of Rotula. I think that we also want to build a warehouse. Let's build a warehouse beside the hangars. Not enough lift to support weight, no. The town center can only lift so much weight. In order to expand your kingdom, you must place buildings that generate lift. Carefully place your lift buildings to keep your kingdom in balance. Note that while other buildings pull their side of the kingdom down, lift buildings will push their side up. Well, that makes sense. The Kingdom of Rotula. To fulfill the prophecy, we must have Rotula allied with us. Our machines awe the crowds and give an audience with the Queen. We may also seek ancient blueprints that we can combine with our own knowledge to make wondrous technology. Our maiden arrival to Rotula was more dire than we had expected, for their kingdom was further in ruin than our rumors had ever told. Excerpt of First Flutters by Mullowab, the second chronicler. They seek our assistance, which is quests. They seek our assistance for an important task. The Queen tells that the Great Conservatory is in ruin. If only we could find the resources and lend some of our workforce to its reconstruction. Completing such requests is the first step to gaining a kingdom's trust and eventually reconnecting them together to establish the prophecy once more. The Queen and her retinue looked no more regal than her subjects, save for a tall golden leaf reaching high above her head. It was clear that our aid was meant to re-establish some grandeur to her stature. From Tales of Our Travels by Mullowab, the second chronicler. We can rebuild the Great Conservatory. It will require 10 wood and 2 bricks, and 2 workers for 1 hour. So of course we will do that. We give the required materials and workers to reconstruct the Great Conservatory. We must wait nearby for its completion. We ask of other things. We search for technologies, and this is how we get more technologies. We search for technologies in the depths below Rotula. We must pay to have them excavated, and to work in the sky we must research what we find further, but these would be a start. Rotulans, like many kingdoms we would come to learn, had forgone the knowledge of the ancients. But many a scavenger would risk her neck to unearth a wreckage for our study, with the promise of a rare jewel. Excerpt of Expanding Our Minds by Mullowab, the second chronicler. So Rotula has the glass smelter, which will transform quartz into glass. That requires 2 lift and 15 wood and 3 workers to construct. You can purchase it for 2 relics. They also have the wing, which gives us 10 lift. And they have the ore, which generates propulsion. I think we'll just buy all of these. And then we have the market, where we can barter our resources. No merchants offer a fair price, but if we're desperate, we can trade at a loss. Rotulan merchants scavenge from the underground ruins at great cost to their own mortality. This was reflected in the prices they offer. from Journals of Our Travels by Mulub, the Second Chronicler. So say for instance we wanted to trade for, let's say, iron. That would be very expensive, as you can see. If we wanted to trade for wood, which is a basic resource, not that expensive, but definitely expensive enough. So we'll only use this if we have an excess of some kind of resource, or if there's any other reason to do so. We return to our home, and now we get this slider thing here, which will gradually fill up as they are rebuilding the Great Conservatory. Meanwhile, we can collect some water, I think. There's a relic ruin over there. You can move around the map. Within limits, of course. Ah, there's a settlement, so we'll head in that direction. The conservatory is complete. With our resources and labor, the conservatory is again whole. Upon seeing our efforts, a couple of locals join our cause, agreeing to take part in our great council. Yet, the great conservatory is still withered, its grove rotted. The Queen asks us to find a sapling from the golden trees of Caledorn to replant their once bountiful gardens. The exact whereabouts of the trees is unknown, but their rumored location is marked on our map. We then understood the Queen's need for the conservatory, for its magnificent grove was a symbol of unity, and Rutullans would stand with any queen who returned its glory. From Tales of Our Travels by Mulub, the Second Chronicler. We shall find the Golden Grove. Upon rebuilding the Great Conservatory, some Rutullans had gained the desire to rebuild other districts within their ruined walls. Excerpt of First Flutters by Mulub, the Second Chronicler, and we got 2 new inhabitants from that, and we can return to our home. But at this point, I think that this is a good time or spot to end this episode. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I will see you all in the next episode.